My name is Daisy Kopolo, first and foremost, proud and passionate Zambian. A Zambian who has a vision for our country and a Zambian who is keen to make the difference for my country. I stand here as a New Heritage Party Secretary General. I'd like to talk about the vision that we have for the country. Our vision for the country is for Zambia to be a premier Zambian-led economic and productivity hub in sub-Saharan Africa by 2030. Our vision is bold and it is audacious. It has to be bold, it has to be audacious, but also we believe that it is achievable. We have so fallen far behind where we need to be, where we could have been, and where we should be. And because of that, we cannot afford to run business as usual agendas. It has to be business as usual. As far as we can see, anything less than a bold and audacious vision is not going to get us to be a premier economy by 2030. But we are willing to take that risk, put out our necks for the Zambian people, and give us this audacious goal for us to be judged by. Our vision has three main facets. The first one is to become a premier nation in sub-Saharan Africa. And dare I say that there's absolutely no reason, with all the brilliant minds that we have and all the resources that we have, that we couldn't substitute a premier for the premier nation in sub-Saharan Africa. But that in itself is not enough. The second point is that the Zambian people have to benefit from this premier position as a nation. And so we would like to see a Zambia predominantly led by Zambians. And thirdly, we'd like to see a nation in which we restore the country's reputation and social dignity by providing quality leadership and leadership continuity that lasts into posterity. We're cognizant that Zambia has the human capital and national endowments to position it as a leading economy. We'd like to see the economy grow to no less than $45 billion by 2030. We would like to build a strong and resilient local, small and medium-scale enterprise sector with capability and self-sufficiency in all sectors. Zambia is enviably located as a land-linked country in the Southern Africa region. We would like to see Zambia become a regional hub for key industries and infrastructure to facilitate trade with other countries in the region. We'd like to see Zambia as a top destination for investment, not just tourism, but a gateway to the rest of the countries in Southern African region for what makes them supremely and uniquely productivity hubs themselves. We'd like to see our nation become a prosperous, middle-class country and lift millions out of poverty. But let's talk about what it means to be predominantly Zambian-led. We recognize that there is a capacitation that must happen to position Zambians to take part, not just in employment, but in enterprise at every level, not just small and medium scale, but even in the big corporates that have entrenched themselves in our nation. Development has become a buzzword, and we recognize that every political party does have to address the issue of development. We recognize that the type of development matters. We recognize that the sustainability of that development matters even more. In recognizing all of this, we have come to understand that it is possible to have all manner of development from infrastructure and other indicators and still exclude Zambians from participating in, owning, and driving that development. And like our name says, the New Heritage Party, We want heritage to become a significant factor in what we call development for Zambia. Being a Zambian-led economy, it remains a critical thing that has yet to be addressed to optimum. And how do we want to do this? We'd like to ensure significant ownership and majority participation of Zambians in key sectors. And this is something that we will take time to build and put policies in place to ensure that this happens. That means that some sectors, some organizations, some enterprises must be owned by Zambians, whether it be because of their strategic nature or simply because we have a competitive advantage. But we also understand that there is a transition period and there is a capacity development and a technical capacitation that must happen. But even as this happens, we must always keep in mind how we can ensure either majority or significant participation of our people as we build that capacity. We need to recognize that for this to happen requires a very deliberate campaign, not just to incentivize Zambian entrepreneurs and investors, but also to ensure that capacitation means that we provide that enabling environment, which has to this day excluded the very people for whom this heritage exists. The new Heritage Party shall ensure that these incentives are benefiting Zambians and ensuring that they can compete favorably. We need to enhance the technical and managerial capacity in all sectors, as I've already alluded to. And unless we do this, then we continue to foster the status quo where Zambians cannot compete with non-Zambians, and they must continue to look over the neighbor's wall in what is actually their own country. We need to rebuild our country's reputation. It's no secret that as a nation that sings proud and free in its national anthem, we have lost our standing on the African and global stage in almost all indicators. But this is redeemable. Whilst this has created significant challenges for the country in its ability to attract investment and do business, we believe that we can once again not just redeem our sovereignty, but the dignity of the Zambian people that they've always had, not just in Africa, but globally. In order to do this, we would like to restore fiscal discipline in government spending. We would like to become more transparent and accountable. We would like to ensure that stakeholders, in fact, know what our position is on matters such as the extent of debt and the policy on contracting debt. We recognize that there may be times when it's necessary to contract debt, but we would like as a party to foster a situation where we're looking internally before we look externally. And that if we are to look externally, we should always ask ourselves at what cost to our nation? And what are we contracting debt for? Is it for revenue generation or is it simply for expenditure? We need to create a strong debt repayment plan and follow through. This is extremely helpful in debt management and negotiations. We need to remove both perceived and actual detrimental interference in the autonomy of key institutions in our country. We need to create stability in policies so as to give stakeholders steady frameworks to operate from and plan from. We also need to ensure that we restore government credibility as a good and timely payer for the goods and services supplied to it. We're aware that many of our Zambians, small and medium enterprises included, do business with government. And for the very sectors we want to grow, we want to ensure that the government that is supposed to be enabling does not become the constraint to their growth, and that timely payment becomes a norm and not an exception to the rule. We also want to ensure that prospects of corruption are absolutely reduced, whether it be perceived or actual, and ensure that cases are dealt with decisively and consistently. This will enhance our reputation as a country of laws and integrity, but also enhance our financial credibility and our country rating. We need to restore the social dignity of Zambians, and to do this, the New Heritage Party shall drive massive opportunity and employment creation. How do we want to do this? We need to rekindle the spirit of nationhood, patriotism, and pride in our heritage, unequivocally and equitably. We need to implement policies that ensure that investment and spending benefits the local SMEs and reduces capital flight. We need to revive seemingly dead industries and sectors and companies that have failed due either to poor policies or failure to implement what are good policies and inability to adapt to changing global factors. This is especially true for sectors such as manufacturing, that needs a very deliberate intervention to improve the value addition to our products and services. We need to address the prohibitive labor and employment laws and costs that discourage companies from employing more people. We need to enhance oversight and efficiency of key sectors to reduce leakages and the black market operations that take advantage of Zambians or inhibit Zambians from participating equitably and fairly. We wish to reintroduce national service and other programs that empower youths with relevant skills, especially after leaving school. We want to inject into our education system the ability for people to not just gain knowledge, but to be inquisitive, to interrogate the knowledge that they have, to look at its applicability to our cultural context, to our economic context. We would like to ensure that those going through school and even after school to have the capacity to think laterally so that they can improve their prospects and reduce unproductive behaviors such as substance abuse, early pregnancies and marriages, and early marriages. We want them to be able to improve those prospects by using not just knowledge and skills, but talent and creativity and innovation to turn this great nation around. And now I would like to move to addressing what our economic solar system